it's Maggie, and I'm trying to clean up my life. So let me just tell you what I have going on. I have been doing like Konmari on my whole life, and I'm kind of in the middle of it for my house. I did my closet. You know, if you follow me on Instagram, you saw that. I did like our toiletries, and I've done like our linens and those kind of things, and I'm just kind of going through the rest of stuff. And as I was thinking, I was like, I also need to do this for my classroom. So I am going to Konmari my classroom, and this is, I guess, part 1, which to me is the worst part. But I know that I need to start with this part, or it's not going to go well. I need to start with the hardest part, and then I can do the other stuff. So for me, the hardest part is this bad boy. And as you can see, these stacks and stuff. I am a paper hoarder, I guess. So I have this whole filing cabinet full of papers, plus stuff I've already used this year that needs to go back into the filing cabinet or the trash or whatever. Like this stack, there's another stack down here that you can't see. I've got stacks by my desk. And if you've read Marie Kondo's book about KonMari, you know that she tells you to get rid of anything that doesn't spark joy. This filing cabinet definitely does not spark joy for me. I think eventually I would really like to get rid of it, but I had 2 of them, right? So I got rid of one like last year, and it didn't hold paper. It held like other supplies and stuff, and I condensed it so it all fits in this closet. And so now I just have this one that just has paper in it. So I said, I've got to condense this. I've got to go through it. Stuff is not organized. It's supposed to be organized by, this is British lit and American lit. This is world lit. It takes up a whole drawer because it's what I have the most of. What's in this one? This one is like my construction paper and stuff, but at the back is like other things, so it's not really what it's supposed to be. This one is like class stuff that doesn't necessarily like fit into one of these categories up here, and then the bottom is just like probably stuff that just needs to be thrown away. So I want to go through it. I want to do a cleanse. And what Marie Kondo says about her book and paperwork is you should throw it away. Like, her whole process on it is throw it away, get rid of all of it, because you can always make another copy, or like things change, or like you never use it. And as I was thinking about it, I was thinking, you know, she's probably right even for a school teacher, because if there's something I don't have a copy of on my flash drive or my computer or my Google Drive or whatever, I really need to take the paper copy and scan it in, so I always have it. And also, like, I'm keeping things like old descriptions for projects and stuff, and like the due dates change. Like, it's never gonna fall on March 2nd again, so like, why am I keeping it? So I'm thinking about going through and just doing a really big purge and getting rid of as much as humanly possible. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to go through all these papers and start making piles. So making piles of things to keep, making piles of things to sort, making piles of things to recycle, because it is paper, so I'm going to try to recycle all of it. And then maybe some copies of things to scan, and I'm going to film the process. It's just me. It's a work day. It's an optional teacher work day. And all my desks are empty, and I think it'd be a good time to do it. So here we go. Okay, let me stop and talk about something for a second. So I think one of the reasons that teachers become hoarders is because we think that at some point we need everything and we're going to use everything. And it's just not true. So let me give you an example. So I've had 2 teachers from my department retire within the time that I've been at my school, and there's another one retiring this year. And I think when a teacher retires, they obviously clean out and want to get rid of everything, but they also will usually give stuff to people in their department. So as a brand new teacher, I took everything that they would give me, right? Because it's their stuff, it works. The first problem was neither of these 2 teachers were organized. Love them to death. Not organized. And so what they brought me were stacks and stacks and stacks of paper that I had to go through. And at that point, the easiest thing for me to do was just take all of it and put it in folders. But it was not very helpful because I didn't go through it and say am I going to use any of this? And there were duplicates and all kind of crazy things. Also, neither one of them really liked technology. So you end up with stuff like this. So this is a packet of Mice and Men. And it's literally someone went through and printed and made copies of all of the sample questions that were on this website, study questions. They actually took screenshots of the quiz and stuff. I'm never going to use this because if I need it, I'm going to go online and look at it. I don't need the paper copy. So these are the kind of things I'm looking through and getting rid of stuff. Same thing here. This is someone went online and copied for every single page the themes and concerns and all that kind of stuff of Mice and Men. Never going to look at it. Now this is good. These are worksheets of Mice and Men that I think came from a workbook. But no, here's the thing. They don't even go with of Mice and Men. They're just normal worksheets, which I have plenty of. So that's a no. And let's see what this is. These are study questions that came off of the internet. Trash. So that's a whole folder full of stuff that I'm never going to use. And this folder has also had a rough life. It has 3 labels on it from where I try to be organized. It's also going in the trash. And on to the next one. Here are some quizzes that go with Mice and Men, and it's not my style of quizzing, so I'm getting rid of them. Here's another issue. So this teacher made, this is a stack of the tests, the final tests that they used for of Mice and Men, and there are 2 keys, 2 of which have different answers. So I don't think I want to deal with it. I'm a sucker for keeping really great work samples. So look at this sketch that was done by one of my students, and this is for the pit and the pendulum. This is when he's on trial. So this is beautiful, right? So I want to keep it. And so what I've been doing lately is instead of keeping all of these, some of which are mediocre, and not great. This one's really good. I'm keeping just a few, and I'm going to laminate them so they will last a really long time, and then I'm getting rid of the other ones. Here's another example of some things to get rid of. These are copies of some tests that have come from some of the booklets like this. And, I have copies of those booklets, so, I don't need to keep these copies because if I need a copy, I'll make a copy. Trash. So, here's a quiz I made, one of my first times teaching, and it's for the Scarlet Letter. And I went through and literally wrote for a couple of the questions. So, why did I keep this? Another thing that I've decided about is I am not keeping things that I don't teach. And I have no plans of teaching, like Moby Dick. I'm never going to teach Moby Dick unless someone makes me. And if I do, I'm going to want to make my own resources anyway. So, trash. Here's the other thing. Old people like to keep newspaper clippings. And I'm never going to use them. Also, I'm not keeping old copies that are in this font that you can barely read because of the printing. They were probably made on a transfer machine or something from 500 years ago. So I'm not going to take duplicates. So there's Tituba, Mary Warren. This one's also Mary Warren. Semi-Paris. Okay. So my justification for this is I'm keeping 6 of these, but it's 6 different characters. I'm not keeping duplicates of the same character. So there's that. This is a Scope magazine from 1996. Trash. Look at like the blue ink. This is like the oldest copy ever. Here's another thing I'm coming across. So like, let me raise the camera up. I never get asked to teach English 3, which is American literature. So I have a lot of resources and things for things like The Crucible, which is American, and I would love to teach it, but I never get assigned it. So I have these resources that I've used and I liked, but it's been 4 years since I've taught it, and it's probably going to be a while before I'm asked to teach it again. And by that time, I feel like my teaching style is going to change, because this was one of my first years teaching, so I used all these resources that were given to me by another teacher. But I feel like if I teach it in the future, I'm going to want to use my own resources anyway. So I'm getting rid of it. Let's do an update on the pile. So here on the floor is everything so far that I'm getting rid of. It's a huge stack. And then this little stack right here is things that I'm keeping, which is mostly just the hanging file folders. So it's going well. Okay. So I just finished one whole drawer, the top drawer, which was my British Lit and my American Lit drawer. It is the smallest drawer, probably of the whole cabinet, because for British Lit, we don't have a lot of time to do other stuff because we're doing graduation project and essay stuff. So, and all my copies are mostly on my computer. And then for American Lit, I've only taught it like twice, or maybe once. Once during student teaching and once on my own. And it's been so long ago, you know, I got rid of a bunch of stuff because it's things I don't want or I'm not going to use again. And yeah, so out of that whole cabinet, this is what I am keeping. And a bunch of it is empty hanging file folders. This is all that I'm keeping out of that whole drawer. So some resources for World Lit, not World Lit, for American Lit and British Lit, and then some empty file folders. I also have 2 of these resource books that were shoved in there, and I'm going to take these to our book closet that we have at school where we put resources that we're not using. Because if I do teach American Lit again and I need them again, I'll go back and get them. And then I also have these copies that I've made of the final exam practice for English 4, which is British Lit. And so I need to keep those. But they were in this file folder, and as you can tell, they ripped it. And so this one needs to be trashed. And I need to find another way to store these. And that's it for this one. Also, you can see my pile of paper clips and binder clips that I took off of things I'm getting rid of. So, first pile to the recycling bin. Done. Okay, I'm moving on to my World Lit drawer, which I dread because it's the biggest one. But if I can get through that one today, then that one will make me feel a lot better. So let's take a look at it. So as you can see, like, it's super full, especially with some of these things back here, which I think are like paper baselines and stuff. But I want to get this one empty today, so I'm going to start pulling everything out and bringing it over here. So let's do it. So here's everything in that drawer. The problem is, I know in that stack above me and behind my desk are some more things that are supposed to be in that drawer, but are not because I can't bring myself to put them away or whatever. So keep in mind, this really should be fuller. So here we go. I also stole the recycling bin from the teacher's lounge. Oops. I'm just borrowing it, and I'll put it back, but it's a work day and like no one's here, so I think I'm allowed to use it. Here we go. First comment. This drawer is gonna be so much harder because everything in this drawer is stuff that I use and teach that I've created. So it's harder because like I have emotional attachment to it, or like I know I'm gonna need it yet next year. So I have to ask myself, do I actually need these copies or whatever? So I'm thinking what I might do is I might today just kind of go through and see, and then just see what I want to get rid of, because I got a couple things like out of that container for Oedipus, but let's just see what I can get rid of today. My Holocaust resources are like super hard for me because like I went to a bunch of workshops and stuff on the Holocaust, and they give us a lot of these resources and things that are really good, and I know a lot of these things are online, but I just really like these. So this one's going to be hard. Oh my God. So I'm looking at this, right? English 2 baseline assessment. This is something that got passed down to me. So I'm looking at it, and it's 2009, 2010. And it's an excerpt from Beowulf. Beowulf is 12th grade literature. So that's how old and out of date this is. Why have I kept this? Okay, here's another hard thing. So, you know how you're younger and like you get excited about something? So I was super excited about this book, American Born Chinese, because it was a graphic novel. And so I made some illegal copies of it, I guess. And I have a class set of them, but I've never used it since then. Should I trash it? I'm also realizing that one of the things I need to do before I start teaching a unit is actually pull out the file for that unit, because as I've gone through, there's been some things that I could have used all year that I didn't for things that I've taught. and now it's too late. I don't know who the teacher is that loved printing off like Spark Notes quizzes and stuff, but they're like super funny. Update. Through one stack. It's getting easier. It's definitely better. And what I've noticed is it's super easy to get rid of things that aren't mine. It's hard to get rid of things that are mine. It's hard to get rid of things that I know I teach or have already made copies of. But the problem is some of the copies are old copies and I've changed like one question on the quiz, which means I can't use those copies anymore, so I have to get rid of them. And it's a good thing because I changed the question because I didn't think it was a good question, or like the kids all got it wrong, so I changed it, so that's a good thing. So I shouldn't feel bad about getting rid of them. Also, I never need that many copies because I do almost everything on the computer now because my kids are 1-to-1. So they each have a MacBook, so we take almost all of our quizzes and tests on the computer. It's also super easy for me to get rid of resources for books that I hate teaching, like The Alchemist. I hated teaching it, and I felt like my students hated reading it, and so it felt really good to throw away all the stuff for that. This is someone else's midterm from 2006. I don't even know this person. It only took me 30 minutes to go through that whole drawer. And like, I'm not done with that drawer, but that's how long it took for me to get this many empties and to only keep one stack. So I feel like that's pretty good. And then I'm gonna press on for the day because I still have plenty of time. Go me. Go me. So I'm on my last drawer that has actual content paperwork in it. And it's my hodgepodge drawer. So this one's going to be difficult because it's hard for me to know kind of what goes where. So I have some foldables for interactive notebook. I have some grammar resources and punctuation resources and things like that. And so activities that I do throughout grade levels, so they don't really go anywhere specific. So this is going to be a hard drawer. Okay, that was the last drawer. So 3 stacks went to just this one stack. So we're making progress. And let me just tell you my thoughts. Excuse me. So what I'm noticing is for certain drawers there are repeats. So like I found these little gingerbread people that go with an activity that's in a different drawer that I've already saw today. And it's going to be harder than I thought to make sure all these things are on a flash drive. so I might have to kind of reevaluate that. But if I can condense how much I have in the filing cabinet, like if I can condense it to just a few drawers, and then I can put some other things that I need storage for in the other drawers, that would be great. So maybe that will be what it gets down to. But still, I mean, I have filled up this recycling bin. Like, look. I have filled it up to the brim. Like, I don't even know if I can carry it. And then there's paper clips and binder clips, and there's the other stack over there. So that's a lot of paper to get rid of. And now the part I dread the most. The stacks. So the stacks are hard because it's stuff I've already used this year, which means the copies are recent, and they're things that I'm for sure will be using next semester. So it's going to be hard to get through. Also, it's not sorted in any way. So that's going to be a tough one. I think I've said that with every drawer. Like, this is going to be a hard drawer to every drawer. So let's do it. I had to stop and get some nourishment. Okay. So I think, this is going to be a longer video. So I'm going to stop, and then I will do a part 2 that's going to be how I organize and that kind of thing. So let me just give you, my final thoughts on this process. Number 1, I waste a lot of copies, so I really need to work on only making the amount that I need, plus maybe 1 or 2 extras, because we like to have extras, but I'm obviously not using all these extras that I'm making, so I need to stop that. I need to remember that I don't need to always keep paper copies of things, because I have copies of them on my flash drive and on my computer and on Google Drive and all those kind of things. So I don't need the paper copy. And also I need to remember that if I change something on like an assessment, so like let's say I change a question, then I need to throw away the old copy, because one of the things I'm going to have to do when I organize is I'm going to have to go through and take a look at all of the copies and see which one is the best one and which one is the newest one, which means getting out my computer and checking, because there's some of these that I have like 6 different copies of the same quiz, and there's like 1 difference. And so I just kept putting them back in the file folder, hoping to condense it instead of being 4 drawers to only be 2 drawers, and then have 1 drawer for all like my pretty paper, like construction paper and cardstock and stuff. And then that means that I can use 2 other drawers to store other things that I need to store. So that's what I'm thinking. We'll see if that changes. But if you want to take a look, I have condensed. So I have this pile and these that need to be sorted, and then this table. And that's it. That's all that I have that I'm keeping. Which, I don't know, to some people that may still be a lot. But, to me, that's way less, because you saw the container that I filled up. So I think success on Konmari paper. So this was part 1, the purge, and then stay tuned for part 2, the organization. And hopefully this system works really well and it will be a success. Stay tuned.